Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, the original K-State sports show. Here's your host, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to another edition of the PowerCat Podcast, a special one. No game this week and lots of stuff to talk about. So we're going to throw a couple of these out there. And I hope you're making it through your week. It's Friday as this releases, and I know what I'm going to do all day on Saturday. At 11 a.m., I'll be watching Big 12 football. And when I climb into bed late Saturday night, I will still be watching Big 12 football. Your panel today is Fitz, Cole Carmody, and Jon Grove, one of our two amazing students who help us out. And I fired Gills. I didn't really fire him. I told him, don't do this one. Let's get some different voices in here. And that's what we've been trying to do all week, whether it's our staff or people from K-State football history. We got more questions from Wabash Station. This is the PowerCat Podcast, where our subscribers get to ask the questions. Everyone gets to listen to the answers, and we will do our best to answer those questions. I'm kind of at overload. You know what I mean? I'm talking about this on the daily deliveries. I did the insiders. I saw the questions, and I think they're going to take me in new ways, new directions. But I got to say this from the insiders on Monday. I need to have a phone call with Elijah Lee every week, because I've got about 5 topics for daily deliveries down here from things he talked about on that Monday episode of the Insiders. It was incredible. I think the best thing we've ever done. But will this podcast surpass it?
No.
It won't, but I just wanted to show some.
That's horrible. That's horrible advertisement for you to keep listening, by the way. So keep listening, please.
Yeah, keep listening. Here we go with our first question. Let me pull the banners up here. Kaboom. It's from PowerCat 1990. I didn't get the dash fix on that one. Can Coach Klieman right the ship? Would he walk away? He has not been the same since his family's unfortunate situation, which happened last season late. We were 3-8 since that happened. I was thinking we were 2-9, or K-State was 2-9. So maybe it is 3. But the most 2 recent wins have been comeback wins by 3 points in the Great Bowl and North Dakota. So it is an interesting thing. And there's ongoing talk, guys, about his health. Is something wrong? That the situation from last season was family related, and that's been managed, I guess, a bit better. So I don't know. I want to remind people that Chris Klieman has said in the past he's not going to be one of those guys that coaches into old age. This day and age, you can't do that. The job's too relentless. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the pay is so good, you don't need to do that. And I don't know if this will. I can see him not wanting to walk out the door on this. But that's the conundrum coaches put themselves into. Bill Snyder did it to himself both times. When the getting is good, you want more of it. And you always come back until that season comes along that is undeniable. Is this one of those? We don't know yet. Sure feels like it. But as I pointed out, Bill Snyder's first retirement came after 5 wins. Ron Prince's firing came after back-to-back 5 wins. And Bill Snyder's second retirement came after 5 wins. So what is riding the ship, Cole? Let's define that first. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, are you talking about this year? Or are we talking about in the future?
This year.
I mean, I think riding the ship this year is finding a way to get to a bowl game.
Right. And that fits that 6-6.
Yeah. We looked at on GoPowercat, would it have been on Wednesday? We had every single person, every member of our staff wrote down a little, a few sentences on if we thought K-State would make a bowl game or not. And it was unanimous. Every single person right now said no. I know that Monty and I were pretty similar. We both said, like, hey, maybe a good performance against UCF, you might be able to talk me into changing my answer. But, through 4 games, it's very difficult, to see a path for K-State to do this. I'm not throwing it out the window because, it'd be one thing if the expectations were like Oklahoma State this season, right? Oklahoma State went into this season. Everybody looked at that roster and said, oof, that's tough. People look at this roster and they go, okay, well, surely there's enough to get 6 wins. And so the fact that they are where they are is more of a testament as to what has gone on this season than I think the talent on the roster. So can they right the ship and get to a bowl game? I think the answer to that question is yes. I mean, they can. Doesn't mean they will.
Yeah, they're capable.
They're talented enough to get to 6 wins. Like, if you look at the schedule, there are some games they should win, right? Just off the top of my head, UCF, if you're a bowl team, you win that game, even if you're 6-6. Oklahoma State, if you're a bowl team, you win that game, even if you're 6-6. Colorado, same thing. That puts you at 4. And so then you're trying to find a way, can you upset 2 teams the rest of the way? If you're a bowl team, the answer to that question is typically yes. We'll see what happens. I think right now, can they right the ship? Sure. Will they? It remains to be seen.
John?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of things so far with this football team and the football program, but I'll say kind of what Fitz has been mentioning as far as coaches knowing that it's a high-stress gig, and my dad, who has been a volleyball coach for quite some time at K-State, kind of knew the ins and outs as far as NIL and how everything's kind of evolving these days. And we know that some of the college football coaches it's kind of just faded out for several of them. You talk about Gary Patterson a few years back and just kind of a downhill trajectory where that was leaning towards. Mike Gundy, I think it's inevitable at this point that he's coaching his final few games. He could be let go based on what I've heard at they fall to Tulsa this upcoming Friday night. But, Klieman has put through some rough patches this season, struggling record, already tough losses. He's dealt with some health scenes in the past, but aside from his contract, you got public denials out there, but he's repeatedly shown that he is focused as far as making the adjustments and trying to lead this team through the adversity. It might not be more so in terms of attacking the day, kind of similar to what I heard from you two and Gills the past few days, as far as not attacking the day or winning the day, pounding the stone 1-0. It's finding out the ins and outs, and I think that's right now where the coaches are adjusting. But as far as the bowl games are concerned, it's for the first time ever. I don't think I've ever said this, but it's Shreveport or bust. Yeah, I mean, you're going up against several teams now. UCF is essentially must-win game for any kind of leverage, because if you lose to UCF, it's one thing if you lose to a Big 12 game just for the rest of the year, because it'll legitimately kill off the conference title hopes. You only have one loss right now, but the morale is already not there. If you lose to UCF, everything is just going pear-shaped to HE double hockey sticks real fast, real quick. You got Oklahoma State. Again, Stillwater has not been very easy for K-State to pull off. Colorado cannot find a quarterback, it seems as if so far. But from October 4th to November 22nd, they just face a attrition of warfare. Just so many physical teams just pushing downhill runs, relentless fronts on both sides of the ball. It's just been areas where K-State has been bullied throughout these past few games from some of these teams, such as North Dakota and Army, in which one of them is an FCS squad and the other one is limited as far as the physicality goes. All right, they are building tanks. But Brian Hanley, Big B, said this best, but they aren't building tanks for several of these big dudes over in West Point. But it's certainly looking as if right now that nothing's changing. We'll see if the adjustments are there by the next few weeks or two. UCF isn't necessarily the most physical team whatsoever, but nothing changes. History, I think, is bound to repeat itself for sure.
Well, John touched on the schedule. Let's take a look at what the Cats got coming up. And it's an interesting schedule because the team should stay rested. I misspoke in a DD earlier this week. I was thinking they had 3 total off weeks. They've got 4 off weeks. So they've got they got 2 more. Excuse me. They got 3 total. They've got this one. Then they play 3 games. They have another one, play 2 games, and then they get their final one. I'm confusing myself here. But it starts with UCF. Cole, you're right. You can't beat UCF. What are we doing here? Particularly in Manhattan.
Right.
But then it gets a little interesting. And I think if you do beat UCF, you have to find a way to either win at Baylor, not easy, or beat TCU in Manhattan. That would probably be the easier of the 2. But I'm not saying it's easy. It would be the more winnable of the 2 because it is in your place. But I don't know. Then you get another week off and you've got back-to-back games at Kansas and Texas Tech coming to Manhattan. Both of those teams are better than K-State as of right now. And I don't know how much better Kansas is, but they've got that game circled. And I think we're going to find out whatever happens in the next couple games, next 3 games, we're going to find out what this team's about against Kansas. We will. Do they have any pride? Do they have any fight? I think the streak ends this year. I really do. I've been worried about it before I saw this team play. And now you must be really worried about it. Then they take another week off after Tech comes to Manhattan. They go to Oklahoma State. They go to Utah. Wow. And Utah's legit, in Colorado. There's 3 wins in there that I see. As you mentioned, Cole, they got to find a way to get 2 more. And I would advise them losing in Lawrence might be the one that breaks their back. So we'll find out what these guys are made of. Right now, this season is about a statement about who these young men on the football team are and who the coaches are. If they can fix this, it'll feel somewhat miraculous to me, to be honest, but it'll say a lot about them. And if they take the other course and continue to go through the motions, and as I mentioned in the daily delivery early this week, what if some of them say, I'm shutting it down so I can redshirt after 4 games? Prominent players on this team did not use their redshirt as a freshman, and they have them available. As an extension of that, the follow-up daily delivery was, hopefully I remember to do it, was about if anyone's indicating that they might transfer, get them out of your damn locker room. And I don't care who it is. If they're telling teammates, I'm going to leave at the end of the season, they don't wear the uniform anymore. Period. They're quitting on their team. If they're just purely in it for them at that point, and I'm not saying I blame them. It's a business now. Again, if Dylan Edwards only played 2 games, if he plays 2 more games and the foot still isn't healed up or it's too hurt for him to play, then you might want to shut him down, even if he's transferring or coming back. If you lose if you lose 2 of the next 3, you're completely playing for the future, I believe. You're playing for the pride of the program. And I think you should already see it, guys. I think you should see them already say, okay, you know what? You're not playing very well and you're a senior. This kid's a freshman or a sophomore. He's going to probably play the same level as you because he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's going to learn what he's doing. Get young. Start thinking about the future. The moment you realize this group ain't got it, which might be in the first half against UCF. And I'll say this too. I don't know if we got a question on this. I saw our colleague, former coworker, Ryan Wallace, pitch us out there. Might be time to shut Avery down in a game. If he's struggling, just try something else. Just try something else. I think Avery's the best choice by far still, which is a statement about the backup quarterbacks as much as anything, isn't it? Try something else. Put a quarterback in that will run, that you're not afraid of losing or he's not afraid of getting hit, whatever it is. That was a long first question.
That's okay. That's because that's a good segue to the next question.
Good. Next question up. Fervent Purple. What can this team realistically change over the next 2 weeks that give them a chance to salvage the season and go to a bowl game? John, what's the first thing you'd like to see this team change aside from playing like they give a damn? I mean, I think that's got to change no matter what. Even if you continue to lose, at least lose with some dignity that you played 4 quarters. So what would you like to see change first?
Boy, I sure despise talking against my own word at several points, but at media day, I was debating Big B a little bit as far as which position group is the linchpin as far as everything goes, and he's been right on my money.
Yep.
I mean, it all starts with the offensive line. It is a complete mess right now. Execution has been extremely rough. And I've used this analogy before in several of my past shows on past radio shows, but it looks like we're trying to hold back a freight train with a spaghetti noodle at several points. They're getting pushed around way too much, and it's not just that, but you also got the play calling that's becoming too predictable as well. But I suppose another aspect is that, you take several of these guys who are, so in some ways they're just not comfortable in their own positions. And I don't know if it's just with some injury or medical issues with George Fitzpatrick. We'll see if he can come back around the UCF game, or maybe a little bit later on that could help. You could possibly slide him to the left and move John Pastore to the right, shift Andrew Lane gang there. What I'm saying is fewer shuffles might finally lead some guys and potentially get some continuity in there. All right, you got five more stable and inside, and you could start executing at a higher level. It really right now it's the most concerning aspect, because the coaching staff, they just don't know what the best option is as well. So the execution has just not been there, and the blocking has just not been there, which has not given Avery Johnson a whole lot of time to read through his progressions. Frankly, I think he's also too locked in on his first read and not skating on the field. Sometimes he just doesn't have the time, but often he's just he's kind of staying towards his key guy, or just like one simple guy. If he is able to stay in that pocket a little longer, and if the guys are able to help provide some of the blocking, it's certainly going to be improved. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but the short yardage dump offs every single time, or if it's just throwing short of a sticks, like you keep mentioning, Fitz, that's something that has got to change. I don't know. I just kind of threw out everything out there, but it's cool. I mean, at this point, anything's on the table.
I agree. I mean, I'm with you guys. Like, the offensive line, I think, is a big deal, but to me, it's a lot more simple. Like, what can this team realistically change? How about their attitude? Right? Like, change your attitude. And it's not even about like playing for pride or looking like you care, because, those guys on Monday, and I've had conversations with people about this. I mean, first of all, we've plugged the insiders from Monday a million times already, but like talking about why you're playing the game of football, right? Like, I would encourage those guys, I'm talking about the players, to take a look at, like, what are you here for? Like, are you here for yourself, or are you here to play for Kansas State? And I went on this big, long tangent after the game on Saturday night because, my coach speak, right? Like, we have these conversations. When you are playing for pride, what does that mean, right? Well, guess what? There are people who pay money to go to the games. There are people who put their time and energy into you to go out and perform. So what can they realistically change? You can change your attitude, man. Like, change it from, man, we're losing. Man, we're out of the Big 12 race. Flip it on its head and be like, we have nothing to lose. Like, nobody expects anything from this team. So embrace that. I'm not saying play against the fans, but embrace the idea of, we're the underdog. We are K-State. We are the underdog. So go out there and show them, that you can win. It's not necessarily playing against the fans, but it's using that underdog mentality. It's using, that thing that has made K-State so good, is using what everybody says and using it against them. They don't think we can win, so we're going to go out and prove that we can. Because it's not just K-State fans. K-State fans, what makes them so great is they're so passionate. Are they there to call you out when you're not doing well? Yes. But are they also the very first ones to show how happy and to show how proud of you that they are when you do win? Yes, they are. And they will have your back if you go out there and you perform and you have that positive attitude to find a way to go out and scrap and get a win. I really think that if they do that, Fitz, they're going to be in a much better position. That has nothing to do with X's and O's or Jimmys and Joes.
Go ahead, John.
Can I add one more thing real quick? I've been in Manhattan for the last 22, 23 years as well. You're not going to find a much more loyal group of fans anywhere around the country than the average college fan experience, whether it's in Manhattan, whether it's in Ames, whether it's in Stillwater. You got not only people that reside from those small college towns in which the logo, the Powercat will be on everything as well. That's going to be the number one main agenda that they'll be talking about 24/7, 365. You got so many people as well just across the state that you mentioned, you got the average St. Francis or the Goodland or the Elkhart Liberal K-State fan that is that's able to track their ways all the way out from Western Kansas, all the way out from Southeastern Kansas, that's been every dime during their time, just gave the opportunity to watch their favorite team, and they expect better. They just simply expect better. And frankly, I think that's also beginning to apply for several of the players as well. You look back at several of the momentum shifts against Arizona, in which I'm looking at several of these guys out here, such as Quay Moss, who came away with the interception. I'm looking at several of the guys on special teams with Mason Oline, Garrett Harstad. You look at several of these guys, and they're showing the energy. They're showing the flow. They're wanting to play for K-State football. And I wrote this down on one of my few observations upon further review, which you guys could check that out as well. But, even when that passion can sometimes spill over mistakes, I look at the Logan Bartley targeting call on Trace Spivey as one of the examples, or perhaps kind of a late hit as well by Ryan Davis. But just seeing all these, a handful of guys still laying it on the line, it just tells me at least that they're still caring them and they're still fighting as well. And that just makes me appreciate, makes me feel good on the inside too.
I want to say this, and kind of following up what Cole said, that you got to decide what the product is. Because in this NIL era, I think a lot of players think they are the product. They have to worry about their stats, their playing time, so that they can get a better deal the next year, whether here or there. And that's not the product. The team is always the product. Because if you're viewing yourself as the only thing with which to be concerned, you're putting yourself out there as an advertisement as someone you don't want on your team.
Bingo.
So if you shut it down, or you have a bad year and you said, oh, it was the team, every other coach is going to hear that. And if you're not playing well, I got news for you. If you had some great offers out of high school, most of those offers won't be there now. Mm-hmm. You're not proving you belong at this level. Why would someone say, oh, we're going to take you to one of the most storied programs in the country? It's not happening. But if I could change one thing, and there's multiple things that, as an aside, we talked about it on the Insiders, use the 3-3-5 more to get back to it. These guys aren't comfortable in what you're trying to do, and you're doing it too much. But the one thing that has to change, Matt Wells, you got to open up, unclench your butt cheeks and open up the playbook. Your offense isn't very good. So what do you keep doing? The things they're not good at. The things they do well, which aren't many, are apparently deceptive plays that open receivers, complex patterns. Instead of just run to that spot, get a dig route, run the post, put that foot in the ground like Jace Brown does, and find yourself open. And run the Wildcat. They can't stop Jace Brown. Why are you not using it? Hey, that works. We better not do it again. I don't understand. That's going to be, I think, the biggest challenge of Chris Klieman is getting some life into his offense, not just the kids and the spirit with which they are or are not playing, but with the tools with which they have to work, which means play calling. I'd almost let Avery start calling plays. Avery,
have more freedom at the line for sure.
What are you comfortable doing?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the sign from the sidelines, all that stuff. Avery, if you don't like that play call because they're not working, do your own thing. Give him more freedom to be in charge. Because this offensive line can't block very well, then put them in positions where they don't have to sustain those for as long. They know Avery Johnson is the only run threat with Dylan Edwards out until you put Jace Brown back there. Is there a lesson to be learned from that? Maybe. I think so. Onward. We're long, man. I don't even know how to pronounce your name.
ESH in Texas, I'm going to assume.
Oh, I left an N out, didn't I?
Yep.
Scale of 1 to 10. I shorten this a lot. Where are the AD, coach, and fans in terms of someone needs to be fired? Well, the fans are at 30 on a scale of 1 to 10. The fans, would like it to be televised and Chris Klieman be at the head of the table. You're fired. That's what the fans want. They're bloodthirsty right now. And in some ways, I think some people go too far. In other ways, I understand it completely. Mm-hmm. It's not the losing. Yeah, the losing sucks. It's the losing with no pride. You don't even look like you give a shit about playing for Kansas State. So I say that AD 0.5. I don't think he's going to fire Chris Klieman.
Yeah, he's not in charge of firing the position coaches. He's
only in charge of Chris.
Right. So go ahead, Fitz. You finish.
Chris Klieman, I'm going to put it at an 8.
Yeah.
The man we spoke to post-game in Tucson had the look on his face of, my staff is not getting it done, and I picked them. Knowing that it's his own failing, but now he's going to be back in the position to do what he did years ago. And people, if you try to say he won't fire anyone, he fired his best friend from offensive coordinator. And I'm going to be really blunt. I'd bring him back. It's better than this. Courtney Messingham, put down the golf clubs. You got some plays to call.
It's funny, right? Like I wasn't there. I was not at Texas when this happened. Would have been 21 when they lost, and that was Mess's last game as offensive coordinator. You could tell. I think I was on Zoom that night, and you could tell like he knew what needed to be done. I don't think he's quite there yet with the coordinators right now. I don't even really put the Joe Klanderman's thing in with Matt Wells because this was Klieman and Klanderman's idea to go to the 4-man front. So he has taken ownership in that. And I don't put all of that on Klanderman because, again, it is more of a team effort on the defensive side than it is on the offensive side. Let it be known. I don't think Matt Wells is going to get fired next week. I don't think he's going to get fired in 2 weeks. But if K-State continues to have a bad offensive output, if Chris Klieman plans on staying around, then he will be forced to make some kind of move. And maybe it's not Matt Wells. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But I look at, where he is right now. So on a scale of 1 to 10, yeah, I'm with you, Fitz. Like I maybe wouldn't go 8. I would probably maybe go 6 or 7, but it's not that far off. And performances can dictate. The AD, I'm at a 0. I don't think that, right now after 4 games, Gene Taylor is in any kind of position. But again, we have to ask the question, how long does Gene Taylor, plan on sticking around? Does Gene Taylor want to be the AD to hire a new football coach? Like that is a very realistic question that we have to ask. Or would Gene Taylor say, okay, well, I'm going to ride this out, and whenever Klieman's done is going to be when I'm done. And then there's going to be a change in leadership at the athletic department, as the athletic director, and at the head coach. I think that could be a very realistic possibility. And the fans, yes, that's my answer with the fans. Yes, 1 to 10, yes.
The answer, yes. I think, and on top of that, you mentioned Gene Taylor as well. How much is he able to handle as far as the continuing evolving landscape of college sports goes, whether it's with NIL and everything, conference realignment? A whole lot of things are on his plate, not to mention that he's already served on the playoff committee. I'm sure he's been sent a lot of emails about that, and even probably some stuff about what's about the game in Ireland, even though it was Klieman's decision in the first place. But to keep it short and sweet, I'm leaning towards 7.5. A lot of this is just based on knowing that the fact that Klieman, similar to Bill Snyder, is kind of a loyal guy. He's going to stick on through with several of his pals, but at the end of the day, the production, if you're not, it's a production based job. If you're not putting up what you're putting up, then chances are you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to hit the. I don't even know what to say. Exactly. I mean, you just have to call it up at that point.
Let me just say this as we wrap up this question. I think Chris Klieman's threshold for stepping away and retiring is higher than Gene Taylor's threshold for firing a coach right now. Mm-hmm. I think I don't see any process where Gene Taylor fires Chris Klieman, and that isn't because of loyalty and friendship. I think Chris Klieman has a higher standard for himself and will say, I don't have any more. I don't know what it is, but this program deserves more. Because I've known that he wasn't going to coach well into his years. You'd have to resolve the buyout, and he's not going to get the whole thing if he does this. But he's a prideful man. So does that mean he says, you deserve better than this, I'm not delivering it? Or does that pride come out in that, I got to fix this, I can't leave until I fix it? That's how a coach gets fired eventually. It ain't happening. No head coach is getting fired out of this, which there's only one in this topic, but you know what I mean? He's just not. Every change for that coaching staff, support staff, anyone in that building belongs to Chris Klieman, period. And including his own fate as of now. So a lot of football to play, a lot of things to go on. Let's see where this season takes us, and maybe it'll get feeling better, even though it's not that much better. It still might fall short of expectations, 5 wins. But if they show some fight, win some games, show some improvement, and do it with kids that'll be back, I'm in. I'll feel good about that. Mountain Dew Cat 74. When does this on-field performance start affect recruiting in a negative way? Cole, I'll just have you take most of this because you're the guy that covers recruiting. You deal with these guys a lot. I'll just say this. What goes on the field doesn't always affect recruiting. Kansas has done a good job, even though they've had some, not great seasons, but okay seasons, because then they can sell opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can sell opportunity, you can get some good players.
Yeah, no doubt. And these relationships are built well before, this season. Like, again, I talk to these kids, pretty regularly whenever we do our commits of the week. And one of my questions is, hey, K-State has struggled. Like, what are your thoughts? And to a man, every single one of those kids have said, yeah, they haven't been as good as they wanted to be, but, I know how those coaches are, and I know how the players are inside of the locker room, and they're going to find a way to get it figured out. And maybe that's just them telling me that. But, I put this question in here, Fitz, because I didn't get into a back and forth with someone on Twitter today, but somebody asked the question, well, why does it even matter? Like recruiting, why does it even matter? How long before they decommit? Like, folks have to understand that just because it's bad right now doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way in the recruiting landscape. Like, K-State is pushing really hard to try and flip some really, really highly rated prospects. And, what are they selling? I'm not in that room, but I can't imagine that the sales pitch right now as it stands on September, whatever day you're listening, I don't even know what day it is. That's horrible for me, but I don't even know what day it is. September 20th. Versus, July 20th, the pitch is the same.
Yep.
Like they pitch on family. They pitch on opportunity. They say, this is what you can be if you come to Kansas State. None of that changes because of 4 games. And so the question is, when does the on-field performance, I don't think it has any bearing on the 26 class. Maybe that's naive of me to say that, but I don't think it has any bearing on these kids who are seniors because they're signing in December. They committed for what they believe can help them in the future, right? And those schools that they pick K-State over, those schools don't have spots for them anymore. So they would have to go through this whole entire recruiting process again. No, they haven't signed yet, but they're pretty locked in with K-State, unless, of course, other opportunities come along, which I haven't heard any indication of that being the case. So, yeah, when does it affect performance? How about next year's class? And even then, one bad year is not going to affect a cycle that much. So it would have to be, sustained losing without a change, with a drop off of NIL. That's also the hidden secret here. A drop off of NIL and just a catastrophic failure. And if you want to say this year's been a catastrophic failure, that's fine. I'll listen to you. But that catastrophic failure, the nuclear fallout, is not going to reach the recruiting cycle just yet.
I agree with all that. That was really good. Look, kids are going to go play for the people they trust. If you're worried about recruiting, if that's really your concern, then you better not want a coach firing.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing you can do if you're worried about saving this class and having a decent recruiting class is a new head coach with a new coaching staff. That's starting over. That's hitting the reset. Maybe you hang on to them. Maybe you don't. But you're in scramble mode. I think Klieman did a pretty good job in scramble mode when he was hired, but they had to. They had no running backs on scholarship on the roster. How does that even happen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that would be the one thing that could really impact recruiting is changing your head coach.
And UCLA, last thing before we move on, UCLA fired its head coach.
Mm-hmm.
They immediately had like 6 4-star kids decommit.
Yep.
And okay, UCLA can handle that. Guess what? You fire Chris Klieman right now, and you don't even have a 4-star commit. And I would venture to say half of, if not more of this class is gone because they committed to play for Chris Klieman and this coaching staff.
And also, how silly of an AD to fire their coach 4 games in when the whole team can say, okay, I'm shutting it down, because they can go in the portal right then.
Yep.
They can't go change schools, but they can go into the portal because there's been a coaching change. The portal opens automatically for them. And if they had played 5 games, they couldn't redshirt. So they'd probably just hold on and play. But now some of those good players might say, I'm going to go in the portal. I'm shutting it down. I'm saving my redshirt year. That's a horrible move by an AD. Here we go. Last one. We don't have a 2-minute drill today because you guys aren't feeling humorous at all. I understand that. I get it. Here we go from KITN Cat.
Kitten Cat.
Oh, I'm so bad at these things. You know, when you see those the vanity plates, I can never quite figure them out. Mm-hmm. How does this program get course corrected long term? I've given up on this year. We can't afford to return to the pre-Snyder levels for more than a single season. I first of all, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think now in college football, you can rebuild in a couple of years. I mean, the portal does change everything. Now, the problem with K-State having to rebuild is the programs that can do that apparently have the money to go into the portal and go get a bunch of players. So I don't see that being like it's going to go all fall apart pre-Snyder. It's never getting that bad. Nobody will ever be that bad. But again, something I pointed out, K-State hasn't lost won fewer than 4 games since Bill Snyder's first season in 1989. Mm-hmm. So if they win 3-2-1-0, it's the worst season since Bill Snyder's first season, when there was literally a very skeletal structure of a football program. They got down into the high 40s, low 50s in camp at one point because the attrition rate.
That's crazy.
Who weren't willing to pay the price, because it was a steep price, folks. What those kids went through, those young men went through in 1989 and 90 and 91, it's against the rules now. Basically, everything Bill Snyder did to course correct is against the rules. You're limited practice. You're limited on time on the field. You're limited on how much contact. All these limits to protect the kids. He was going to see who was the toughest and who wanted to fight and play for the university. I know Chris Klieman wants to rest the guys as a kind of have a bridge here, Cole, to you, but I wouldn't. I don't know what he did this week in practice, but I would have had a couple full contact, everyone get bloody practices. And if someone gets hurt, okay. Because we're not going to go out there healthy and play like we've got a half a heart.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go out there with the guys we've got left after beating the snot out of each other and play our asses off for the fans that deserve it. There's so many fans that deserve to be pissed off for the amount of money they spent to go to Dublin, let alone the cost of just going to every game. When you drive in, some people are driving 4 or 5 hours every Saturday for you fools, and you take it for granted.
Mm-hmm. I think that message is being echoed in the locker room. Like, I think that we're going to start to hear that message is being echoed in the locker room. And the question, to answer this question, how does the program get corrected long term? I think it's pretty simple. You play the guys that you believe will be here in the long term.
Yep.
Play the guys that are going to be here in the long term. And seniors, you deserve to play. Those Damian Alalios, the Uso Sayamalas, those guys deserve to play. They have been here. They've put in the time. They have put in the blood, the sweat, and tears. They deserve to play. I'm not sitting here calling out other guys who haven't done that, transfers or anything like that. But if a guy is not all in, then they're all out. And that's pretty simple. And I think, as crazy as it sounds, the bye week is coming at a perfect time for K-State, right? Because not only are you having time to actually recover a little bit mentally, because that's exactly what you need to do. You've just been hit by a Mack truck, right? You got to recover mentally. And you're right, Fitz. During the bye week, they love to go K-State on K-State. They should do that the entire week this week. Don't even look at UCF until next week. Don't even look at UCF. Take a look in the mirror and figure out how you can turn this thing around. Yes, the questions that he's given up this year, that's fine. I mean, on what, though? Like, what have you given up on? The Big 12? Okay, I get that. But that doesn't mean that you have to give up on winning football games this year, because I know the people inside of that building are not giving up on winning football games this year. And I do believe that the best way to win football games this year is to play the guys that they envision will be here in the long term. Now, who knows what the long term looks like in today's age of college football? It's probably just next year, if we're being honest. But do that. To answer your question, do that. You're not going to get to that level. And Fitz, you brought it up. Snyder was so successful because he did things that other people didn't do. How does K-State find a way to do things that other people don't do? How do you find a way to zig when everybody else is zagging? I don't know what that is, but they have to find a way to gain some kind of advantage. And if that's the mental game, because they separate, like I talked about before, between attitudes, then do that. Do that. And the guys who have those better attitudes will be the ones who have better success.
John?
Yeah, and it's going to continue being that way as far as splitting the guys who want to be playing for your football program, whereas the guys who are just there for their NIL checks as well. But, again, I just go back to this Arizona game and some of those moments that just hit me for sure. And you got guys like Logan Bartley who want to set the tone for the rest of the team for the rest of the season and make a statement on every single play. Go play several of those young guys. Play several of those young guys that want to take a little bit of a leadership mantle, as even despite the lack of experience as well. But that kind of intensity, that kind of willingness to play with pride and emotion, get them on the field. All right, it's exactly what can shift the energy from a team and can make them competitive as well. Will it generate the best results? Probably not. It kind of remains to be seen as far as the next few games go. But it was even with some of the smaller flashes that turn in, but even at times it kind of spill over as far as the penalties go. But get those guys who are wanting to make the big plays. Get the guys who are ready to beat and pound each other day in and day out. Cole, I thought you were spot on as far as kind of focusing on yourself, potentially kind of look in the mirror a little bit and see what's kind of going on from an identical standpoint, from the offensive line, defensive line, even from a quarterback standpoint too. And just see what you can work on as far as the mechanics go. And then UCF next week. And frankly, I guess maybe in a way to kind of disagree, it's kind of compliment sandwich where you got one thing where you kind of agree on and the other thing you kind of drop off on. It feels as if the first, well, really after the Iowa State game, it feels as if K-State has just played just the way they want to kind of try and mechanicalize anything. And perhaps it's gotten a little bit over comprehensive at times, but they have lacked really just attacking the ways, and especially the offense, as far as how you can attack the defense's weaknesses as well. And I think that's certainly what's been missing so far. But they kind of focused on their identity, and they're trying to expand it a little bit more and try and make it more convoluted than it needs to be. Yep. When you're looking at the video, at the tape, there's plenty of weaknesses all around. Go after some of these teams. You got to further execute some of those weaknesses, and you got to capitalize. You can't just be focusing on your self-identity crisis at certain points, and you just got to go out there and attack the day, win the dang day.
Fitz, I'm going to say this as I sign off real quick. I know we're past time, but this is an opportunity, and I think fans should view this as an opportunity. Like, are you happy with the results? No, you're not happy with the results, and you don't deserve. You deserve to be frustrated with the results. That is totally warranted. But I think that fans should look at this as an opportunity. you get a chance to see what this team is made of every Saturday. And do we think we know what they're made of right now? Sure. Could it go up in flames? Absolutely it could. But this is an opportunity for young players to really, really take advantage of their time. And I know that every time that I show up to Bill Snyder Family Stadium, I'm going to be excited because it represents an opportunity for somebody new to step up. And, maybe that's just my way of looking at things, but every game is an opportunity. And there is absolutely zero reason why some of these younger guys can't take advantage of this opportunity and really, really flip this season and their careers, to be completely honest with you, around.
Everything should be on the table for this football team. I hope the coaches have done a really deep assessment of what has been working, what little it is, what hasn't been working, and what are the immediate things we can fix. The most immediate thing that can be fixed is what you brought up, Cole. Play like you give a damn. You might think you do, but you don't. And here's the one thing I want to see, and Cole, you probably know what this is. When you come out of that locker room on 2 Saturdays, run onto the field. Not jog, sprint. What are you saving energy for? You're not playing hard anyhow. Get your asses down to that end zone. Get your blood going. One of the things I've learned is if you're having a crappy day, don't tell yourself it's a crappy day. How's your day? It's great. And then we're stupid enough to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Convince yourself you're going to go out there and play your ass off. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to send a message, I'm on the field and I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
This jogging shit is driving me crazy. Some of the guys in Arizona didn't even make it to the end zone. They just quit and walked to the sidelines. How freaking soft is that? Pathetic. I don't care if you're the damn third string snapper, third string punter, or the kid that, well, there's not many left because the walk-on program is decimated. The kid that knows he's not going to play. And if you know you're not going to play, if you know you're probably not going to see any action, you're the ones who should be running the hardest. Embarrass those guys. Make them look the fool. All the kids that don't have scholarships just ran their asses off to the far end zone, and you just jog like you don't give two craps. The first thing you can fix in any problem is yourself. Hopefully, we'll see signs of that from the Kansas State Wildcats in 2 Saturdays.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.